My mother-in-law deliberately infected my daughter with chickenpox. I'm furious. My mother-in-law deliberately infected my 1-year-old daughter with chickenpox, and she thinks it's no big deal. I could barely type this because the thought of what happened enrages me. My husband, 31, and I decided to spend Christmas with his family for the first time since our daughter was born last year. They live 12 hours away, so we arrived a couple of weeks early so our 13-month-old daughter, Annie, could bond with her grandparents. Everything was great at first. I've had disagreements with my mother-in-law, Trish, 56, about my parenting style. She criticized me for using disposable diapers, store-bought baby food, and not being all natural. But things seemed fine initially. A day or two after settling in, my husband and I decided to go gift shopping at a mall an hour away before the holiday rush. My father-in-law, 63, came with us, and Trish happily offered to watch Annie. When we returned a few hours later, Annie was asleep on an unfamiliar blanket. Trish said a friend brought it as a Christmas gift. It looked old and worn, but I figured it was just one of her hippie friends recycling materials. The next 2 weeks were mostly fine, except Trish insisted on cooking Annie's food from scratch. I mentioned it to my husband, and he told me to ignore it. Annie mostly smeared the food or threw bowls on the floor, as she does at this age. Trish said she needed time to adjust to natural food. Her interference annoyed me, but I let it slide for the sake of the holiday. The day after Christmas, Annie became fussy, squirming and crying. She had a fever, so I monitored her for a couple of days. Thankfully, the fever subsided, but this morning, she developed a rash with blisters on her arms and legs. I panicked and packed a bag to take her to the doctor. When Trish asked where I was going, I told her about the rash. She smirked smugly and said there was nothing to worry about. When I pressed her, she casually admitted, without even looking at Annie, that it was chickenpox. She explained that her friend's grandson had chickenpox a couple of weeks ago, and she asked the friend to rub a blanket on the child's arms, legs, and face and bring it to her house. I asked if it was the same gift blanket Annie slept on, and she confirmed it was. I lost it. I don't even remember what I said. I hadn't slept in 2 days, constantly checking on Annie. I yelled at Trish, asking, "What the hell is wrong with you?" My husband and father-in-law tried to calm things down, but Trish doubled down, insisting that getting chickenpox was the best and most natural way to boost Annie's immunity. We had a vaccination schedule with our pediatrician, and the chickenpox vaccine was planned for 18 months. We took Annie to the doctor, who confirmed it was chickenpox and advised cutting her nails short and possibly putting socks on her hands at night to prevent scratching, which could lead to scarring. On the way back, my husband defended Trish, saying she meant well. I couldn't believe he was taking her side, and we argued the whole way until I told him to shut up. Annie's been scratching like crazy, and I had to put socks on her hands. When we got back, Trish tried to talk to me, but I told her to get out of my sight. We planned to stay until Wednesday, but I packed our things to leave in the morning. I'm so angry I can't think straight. Every time I hear Trish in the kitchen, my heart races, and I want to rip her hair out. I never want to see her again or let her near my daughter. What can I say to make her and my husband understand the gravity of what she did? I don't think I can speak coherently until Annie recovers. Comment: someone asked why Annie wasn't vaccinated against chickenpox. We follow the vaccination schedule set by our pediatrician. She got her measles vaccine at 1 year, and the chickenpox vaccine was scheduled for 18 months, as recommended. If someone deliberately infected my child behind my back to undermine my parenting, they'd never see my kid again without supervision. Your husband needs to stop being a mama's boy and start being a father. Update: thanks for the comments, messages, and advice after my first post. They really helped, especially tips on soothing Annie's itching. Now for the update. I didn't think it could get worse, but it did. The next morning, I started loading the car early. I opened it and kept my keys in my pocket since I was going in and out. Normally, we use my husband Jack's keys, and mine stay in my bag. While I packed, Jack sat in the kitchen with his father, drinking coffee and chatting as if nothing happened. Annie was still asleep, so I buckled her into her car seat and closed the door. Jack came out and asked if I'd packed everything. I said we were ready to leave as soon as he was. He said, okay, then calmly used his key to lock the car with Annie inside. I asked what the hell he was doing, and he said we weren't leaving until I apologized to Trish. I was stunned. He went on about how Trish thought she was doing the right thing, that chickenpox isn't deadly, and I was overreacting, making Trish feel bad. I told him he needed to stop being a mama's boy and start being a father. He made a face and said he'd always be Trish's son, and no one should speak to his mother the way I did. I had to apologize to de-escalate. I felt like I was in a reality show, married to a 9-year-old, not a grown man. I told him to unlock the car so we could leave. He refused and went back inside, saying he'd talk when I was reasonable. You can guess what happened next. I'd left my bag on the passenger seat, and he probably thought my keys were in it. Nope. I waited 30 seconds, got in the car, and drove off. My phone blew up. Jack, Trish, my father-in-law. Then my mom, dad, and sister Jess, were close, called. I texted Jess the night before about what happened, and she was shocked when she heard the details. She called Jack and told him to walk home. I didn't care. Jack had told her I'd gone crazy, scared Trish, grabbed Annie, and sped off. When she heard my side, she calmed down. My parents and Jess offered to meet me halfway so I wouldn't drive 12 hours alone with a toddler. When I saw them, I broke down sobbing at a roadside diner, telling them how much I loved them. They took turns driving while I slept. Talking to them was sobering. They agreed Trish and Jack were out of line. I stayed at my parents' that night, and they said I could stay as long as needed. The next few days were rough. I barely slept, making sure Annie didn't scratch herself, though she still did. She has 5 scars on her face and more on her arms from scratching. I know looks aren't everything, but I'm furious her skin is scarred for life over some nonsense. I never thought I'd be in this situation. I answered one call from Jack, and he ranted about not recognizing who I'd become. I hung up. He was supposed to return after his vacation, and I dreaded it but thought we could coexist since Trish lives 12 hours away. Then, around 11 p.m., I got a short, formal text from my father-in-law via Jack's phone. Trish has shingles and is in the ER. Jack's staying to care for her and will work remotely from their house after his vacation ends. 4 weeks, Jack's been catering to his mom. I bet she's milking it, acting like she's 1 foot in the grave. From what I googled, she's got painful, oozing blisters for a while. A few weeks ago, I was exhausted, depressed, and in shock. Now, back home with people who care about me, I see how lucky I am to have spotted Jack's weird dependency on his mom early. His concern for Trish over his own daughter says it all. When he returns, we'll need a serious talk about our future. Comments: locking a sick baby in a car to pressure you is awful. Kudos for leaving. Whatever happens with your marriage, your priorities as a parent are clear. Good luck, and hope Annie recovers soon. Shingles only happens to those who've had chickenpox. The virus stays in the body and reactivates when immunity weakens. The vaccine prevents this. Ironic. Story 2: reconciling my father with my sister. My father disowned my sister, and now he's dying. How do I convince him to talk to her before he passes? Some background: our family was tight-knit until 2003, when my father, 55, found out my mother, 54, was cheating with John, 54, his childhood best friend and best man at their wedding. Dad begged Mom to stay, but she left for John. They divorced, and 5 months later, she married John. My twin sister, Sarah, 27, was always a daddy's girl, spoiled more than the rest of us and following him everywhere as a kid. So, it shocked us when, after the divorce, Sarah chose to live with Mom. We were the only kids still living at home, me and our 4 brothers. I stayed with Dad, Sarah went with Mom. She visited Dad and me on weekends, and I sometimes went to Mom's. The divorce and Sarah's choice hit Dad hard. He put on a brave face but cried every weeknight for a year after the divorce. His relationship with Sarah stayed mostly the same. He spoiled her even more, attending all her events, games, and meetings. Things shifted when she changed her mind about pursuing medicine. Dad's a surgeon, and she always wanted to follow him. Mom and John, both lawyers, pushed her toward law. John mentored her, and they grew close. After college, he got her a job at his firm. Now, the crux: in 2017, Sarah was getting married, and Dad was over the moon, giving her an unlimited budget for her dream wedding. He did this for all his kids but was especially excited for Sarah, his only daughter. He often said he couldn't wait to walk her down the aisle. The day before the wedding, Sarah announced that both Dad and John would walk her down. Dad's one of the least confrontational people I know, and she probably expected him to just accept it. He didn't. They had a huge fight the first time I saw him truly angry, and he didn't attend the wedding. Sarah walked down the aisle with John. The fallout was massive. Dad and our paternal family essentially disowned Sarah, cutting off contact. She tried to apologize and reconnect multiple times, but Dad refused to talk or hear about her. We thought he'd soften when she had a child in 2018, but he wouldn't meet his grandson. Earlier this year, Dad was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. Even knowing he's dying, he refuses to see Sarah, and she can't understand why. I'm close to Dad, and these last weeks have been brutal. How do I convince him to reconcile with Sarah? Update: some asked for an update, but life doesn't always have happy endings. This is a sad one. A week after my first post, Dad's condition worsened rapidly. We lost him a month ago. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I didn't expect it to be so gut-wrenching. He was in immense pain and endured so much. As hard as it was for us, he deserved peace. He was tired. In his final moments, he was conscious and said goodbye to me and my older brothers. His words to me were one of the most painful yet beautiful moments of my life, too personal to share. He kissed my daughters, 11 months and 2 years, on the forehead, told them to be good girls, and said he loved them. I'll never forget it. My heart breaks because they're too young to understand. My eldest keeps asking for Grandpa, and every time I explain he's not coming back, she doesn't get it. I'm 27, I don't get it either. I was supposed to have years with him. It's so unfair. The worst is Sarah's situation. Dad died without speaking to her. I tried talking to him about her, but he wouldn't budge. She grew more desperate, then he passed suddenly, not unexpectedly, but Sarah was in denial. The funeral was beautiful, with many sharing warm stories about him. Sarah saw Dad for the first time since the night before her wedding. She didn't recognize him, he was so thin, no longer the chubby dad bod guy. She sobbed through the funeral. Mom and John tried to attend, but our uncles kicked them out. The will went as expected. Dad's family is wealthy, oil and gas for generations, and he left money and property equally to all kids, including Sarah, plus a large trust for all his grandkids, even Sarah's kids he never met. That was typical of Dad, he didn't care much about money, just wanted us secure. He also left each of us a long letter, except Sarah. My letter was about our history and my childhood, amazing. I've read it 100 times and cry every time. Dad loved photography, and we were his main subjects. He made each of us a photo album with notes on the back of each picture, explaining where it was taken and what it meant to him. It was a surprise, likely prepared long before he passed, a touching farewell, so like him. Sarah's album had no notes. When she found out, she had a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized for a week. She's doing better now, slowly recovering with her husband's support. She sleeps and eats almost normally but still cries randomly. It's getting easier, or so I tell myself. Last week, my wife and I learned we're expecting. It wasn't planned, she switched birth control and missed a week. It's early, so we haven't told anyone. What really gets me is that my future child will never meet Dad. It's so unfair. I'm angry and scared. Dad should be here to guide me through fatherhood. He taught me so much with my girls, but now I'm on my own. I'm terrified I won't be as good a father as he was. That's it, folks. I keep thinking, what if, but it changes nothing. It's a bitter ending. Life's rarely fair. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and support, I felt so alone, and I still do. It meant a lot. My thoughts on both stories and life's fairness. Story 1, Trisha's actions were utterly unacceptable. Deliberately exposing a 13-month-old to a preventable disease without parental consent is reckless and unethical. Chickenpox can cause complications, scarring, infections, or worse, and Annie's scars are a lifelong reminder of Trisha's arrogance. Jack's behavior, locking his sick daughter in the car to force an apology, is indefensible. You were right to leave and prioritize Annie. Trisha's shingles is ironic proof that natural immunity isn't superior. Vaccines exist for a reason. When you're ready, use calm, fact-based arguments, like those I provided, to confront Jack and Trish. If Jack doesn't prioritize Annie, consider therapy or even separation. Your daughter's safety comes first. Story 2. This is a heartbreaking tale of pride and pain. The father's refusal to forgive Sarah stemmed from deep betrayal, first by his wife, then by his daddy's girl choosing John. His absence from her wedding and cutting her off was his way of coping, but it left Sarah in anguish. His death without reconciliation is tragic, and her breakdown over the empty album is gut-wrenching. You did what you could. Now, support Sarah as she heals. Life didn't give them closure, but you can honor your dad by being the father he was to you. Is life fair? No, it's not. These stories show it: a child scarred by a meddling grandmother, a father dying without forgiving his daughter, a son grieving lost years. Bad things happen to good people, and justice is rare. But life's not just pain, it's also joy, like the love of your supportive family in Story 1 or the memories of your dad's photo albums in Story 2. I see life as 50-50, pain and joy intertwined. My parents, ex-AI creators, taught me to approach life as a puzzle to solve, finding meaning in chaos. Your dad said life is pain, but I'd say it's both pain and purpose. What's your take? Is life more suffering or joy for you, and what did your parents teach you about it?